Do we have something ready?
I think the ordinance on the streets is done. The flow, the map is up there, and then I wanted to talk with you about the speed limits that we talked about. Those two things in the city of Winter Creek, everybody.
Very good.
Those conversations. So we have two that are ready. Mics are live.
Good morning. Welcome to Street and Ordinance Committee. It's October 11th, 2023. Present today are Councilman Schramm and Public Works Director Troy Kruger. I believe we're going to review two things, possibly not acts. We'll find out. Go ahead, Troy.
So the map on the wall, with the black, the blue, and the yellow, and the pink, is just it's a preliminary, first draft of a proposed traffic flow plan for the city of Winter and the signage that goes along with it. Everything in black is your primary or your collection streets, and everything that intersects a black street would have a stop sign. The blue are your primary, secondary streets, and those streets, anything that intersects those streets would constitute a yield sign. And then, other than that, the recommendation from our engineers is that we don't put up any other signs in town. The other proposed change for this go around with this is to change the speed limit to remove the 20-mile-an-hour signs and go with the South Dakota state law of 25 mile an hour, and then with no signs posted. That's basically it in a nutshell.
School zones would be posted at,
Yeah,
is it
that's
15 or 20?
15.
School zones we won't touch. All the signage in the school zones and around the parks that would all stay. That's all according to state law, and
Yeah.
be no changes there.
As I understand it, though, a school zone is only, and this is a little confusing to me because of our swimming pool in the school zone, but the school zone I don't think is in effect during non-school. We need to check into that.
I think it's when children are present.
That's what the sign says. and that's what I don't know. I know that whenever you go to a town that has flashing lights for their school zone, when the lights aren't flashing, it's no longer a school zone, as I understand it. You can drive the 25 then, okay? Otherwise, it's 15, but we need to check into that.
I don't know.
Yeah, just to find out where we're at with that.
Good question to Mr. Day, or your lawyer.
So, I think it's a good idea to have that master plan. So, but I know the actual ordinance to implement that, we haven't got that done yet, I don't think.
No, he just confirmed it's not done.
Yeah, okay.
He was working on it on Monday.
Yeah, because we got a copy sent to us, but he left out a couple
Yep.
things, so, okay.
He just confirmed, and I'm asking him the question on the school zone in the summers for you
Oh,
guys.
okay. Because that's what confuses me, where our swimming pool with children present is really in our school zone, but school isn't in session, so I'm not sure how the law reads there. You know, that's. So will yield signs automatically be put up at every intersection, or will they be as you deem necessary? Because some intersections, you know, you really don't need a yield sign.
It was the recommendation of Streets and Ordinance yesterday
Yep,
that no signs go up, that you follow state law. First to the intersection has right of way.
yep,
If two meet at the intersection at the same time, no sign posted, you yield to the right.
yeah, yep.
That's what they're recommending.
That's what I'm wondering, because I don't know that we need a yield sign on every block of winter.
No, it would just be on
On the blue ones?
just on the blue ones.
Anything intersecting with the blue ones? And is there a, I know the yield sign we put at Roosevelt and 8th Street, it's so high up, it's buried in the trees. It's not buried, but you can't see it for the tree, because the yield sign must be 12 or 15 feet high off the ground. I'm not sure of that, I'm just making a number up, but it's way high, it's way taller than I am, and you can't see it until you're at the intersection.
Is it going, so it must be going on east and west street?
The east-west on 8th Street at Roosevelt by the judge's house, by the Elder Inn. And the one on the west, on the eastbound, you can see that easy because there's no tree. But it's really tall too, and I don't know if it must be a rule at how high they have to be, I don't know. But you can't see that yield sign until you're at the corner that there's a yield sign there. So I don't know.
I had some other complaints on stop signs not being able to be seen because of shrubs and bushes and
Yep.
sight
This
triangles.
just seems like
Sight
it's
triangles.
so high up in the air.
Bushes.
Yeah, I don't know, but,
Clarification, school zones are not defined by whether classes are in session. As long as the school zone is set by a school building, and as long as children are present, the zone applies. Summer or fall, doesn't matter. School zone is school zone. It is
20 or 12 months out of the year.
every day,
Okay,
even on Sundays, according to what he's defining. As long as the school zone is set, and that's our school zone, there's a building in the area that defines the school zone. It always applies every day of the week.
I wonder how come so many towns then have flashing lights, and that's what tells you
Yeah.
that the 15 is in effect.
It's in effect all the time, but maybe that's just to make them aware to be
Okay.
cautious or cognizant of children present. But yeah, it is not defined by whether classes are in session. It's defined by a zone, defined by a school building, and anytime children are present. So our pool in the summer is covered by the school zone. And
If children are present,
yeah,
okay.
so that will be conveyed over to public safety. That, and as far as signage, those school zones are protected all the time, every day of the year, at 15 mile an hour. So those pink
Goodness
areas.
sakes, because you drive 49th Street in Sioux Falls, right by John Harris Elementary School, and a swimming pool, and, yeah. And I'm not so certain that's not a 30-mile-an-hour street. I'll be
Sounds,
darned.
sounds like their city council needs to review that.
Well, I don't know, yeah, I don't know. T, I know in their main street, in their main drive of T, it has a, when flashing, you know, I'm certain it says when speed limit 15 when flashing, which is
Okay,
the school.
he's clarifying here with one final text. The rule applies in summer too, unless the city ordinance excludes it during that time frame. But in that case, you have signals that define when the zone applies, when lights are flashing, if your council has
Okay.
excluded that time frame.
Okay.
So that'll be for you guys to decide in the summer.
And I don't know with our swimming pool where it's at, if I'd want to exclude that.
Yeah, that's a good discussion. I don't necessarily believe we want to do that.
Yeah, because even though we're all fenced in, getting there and leaving there, you're still crossing that street.
We have a problem with our sidewalk on that south side of the street where it's not wide enough. We all understand that. We would like it to be wider, so we probably need to, if I had a vote, my vote would be to slow traffic down because of how kids are getting there.
Yeah, and
Just to
and
be
according
safe.
to what you just read, we are slowing them down.
Correct.
Yeah,
Unless we exclude it in our ordinance.
right.
Yeah, our flashing speed signs never change, they're always the same here.
That's correct. Yep.
Right.
They always say 15. But it also says when children are present. So if that's the case, if you don't see a kid, do you get to drive 20? The standard speed limit?
I don't know.
Yeah.
No, if we don't exclude it, it'll be 15 mile an hour all the time,
So we need to take down when children are present.
right?
In my opinion,
Unless our ordinance excludes it. I don't,
that's just it, yep.
okay.
The only other street that I was thinking of that, is 25 too fast on Main Street?
No, it's not a school zone. And
He means in practicality though,
I-
backing out from the curb and
I understand that,
People walking across the street all the time.
yeah.
making U-turns.
I'm not sure that,
Nobody ever uses the crosswalks, you know, they just walk across from, say, like, True Value over to the mini mall or over to the thrift store, they just, you know,
Yep,
it's, I mean, it's pretty, if you're coming off the highway, the bumps are getting bad enough, you can't go too much faster than 20 anyways, but. That's the only other street, really the only other street in town that has
Traffic.
high foot traffic. You know,
and that's only in one block, because the next block doesn't have any business.
well, it depends on what time of night, what time of the day.
And then it has one business.
But it could get pretty full down there.
Don't disagree?
I'm not so sure that we don't have people doing 25 on Main Street now. It's, the other thing is with this, the four-way stop on Fifth Street going into the commercial downtown zone would go away. There would be no stopping.
It would
Would-
just stop from the east.
But it's a black street, so it'd be stopped from east and west.
Correct. But it would be a through at Fifth. I've heard mixed opinions on that from different people,
Yeah,
but that's one thing to think about.
it's a long ways from the school, so it's pretty hard to justify four-way for school traffic.
Why was that stop, why was that made a four-way stop to begin with? Anybody know that?
Because that's where the one-way ended.
Yes. The one-way
The
street
one-way
coming.
changed at Fifth Street. So it's smart to have the stop sign
Yep,
going north and south.
Yep.
That's why.
Yeah, because they had to either take a left or a right.
Yep, give you another chance to think about not going straight.
Northbound.
Yep,
correct.
yep.
Okay, if you're good with sending these to full council, Paul,
Haven't seen them.
he will finish them up. If I have a copy to council to review before Monday, we can discuss it, and if you want to change and table at that point.
Yeah, because I don't want to get it Monday night and then have to make a
Right.
decision
Okay.
on whether or not he got everything in there. That's my only concern. And as long as we don't reply to anything he sends us, he can give us a copy of the proposed ordinance, couldn't he? All six of us?
I'm asking him exactly that.
Okay, but we don't dare reply to it because then that's a
Yeah.
violation, so, as I understand it.
Anything else, Troy? Okay.
Is street sending anything about abandoning that alley? Or not?
Yeah, we did the streets committee, but, I need to get with Paul. And we need to find out we need to go through the process of getting the paperwork, getting whatever. I don't know. There wasn't a recommendation coming out of streets yesterday on to abandon it or to make it an easement or. There
Good.
wasn't a recommendation yesterday, but.
Okay,
The discussion was basically on this alley right here that goes across.
This goes across the middle of Zip Trip's parking lot. That's still an alley.
that's correct, as it still should be.
And they're talking about doing an easement and abandoning
Okay.
with a utility easement access.
Yep, and I'm gonna be 100% against that.
The,
Because here's what's happening, and right now, I park my dump truck in the alley behind my house. Using the same philosophy that we're gonna use for Zip Trip or whatever it's called, Cenex. They, without approval from the city, covered our alley with concrete. And just like a squatter, they moved onto that alley and are claiming it as their parking lot. It is not their parking lot. When this town was originally platted, that was an alley for utility access, just like every alley in the original city of Winter was and is, okay? Nobody in town has the right to take over that alley, covering up our utilities, covering up our access to drive through the alley in place of going to the next street or the other street, okay? We've had it happen so many times in Winter, 7th Street, one of them, a guy decides to build a fence on city property. And what do we do when we find out about it? We move the street. A guy decides to build a carport on city property, and then comes in to build a second carport to match his first one. Then the city finds out that that guy built his carport on city property. Guess what? We didn't make him move his old carport. We let him build his new one again on city property. Okay? No ramifications, no nothing. Now we have Ampride, the farmers co-op. They decide in what was used to be a storage area for water tanks and cattle feeders and that kind of stuff, and the alley ran right through their property, okay? Because they owned from Taft Street to the ASCS office. That was all co-op property. But they always left the alley in between. When they built the Ampride store then they decided, we're gonna cover this alley, we're gonna park in this alley, we're gonna do everything in this alley because it's ours. It isn't theirs. Okay, it's an alley, platted, and whatever the words are, plotted, platted, designed. Here's our lots, here's our alley. Everybody from 7th Street south has an alley, okay, for whatever purposes. To abandon that because they spent money covering our stuff up is absolutely wrong. Because anybody in winter then can take the initiative to claim that alley as their own.
So we've done counterpoints,
Yeah.
two of them. Do we know that no agreement was in place? There are no agreements anywhere, correct? From
From Ampride or from the co-op?
co-op? Yeah.
Nope.
I can't find any, when Paul gets back, that's the conversation that we need to have. We need to go to the courthouse and research it, actually make sure that when they took over that property, if there was any kind of paperwork that got exchanged with the city or anything, but Mike Brown, when he was the code enforcement officer,
Yeah.
he looked into this, and there wasn't. He brought this to committee, it made it to ordinance committee, and it was discussed a few times. But nothing ever got done with it. So that's what was recommended coming out of streets yesterday, was that we find out for sure if there is any legal documents that, if something exists, it would be on file at the courthouse. If if there was ever an agreement written up with the city or anything for them to put a surface over the city's alleyway, which I agree 110%, it is still the city's alley. We still have a sewer main running underneath their parking lot. So we need, as the city, we need to protect ourselves, and if we ever need to access that sewer main, that we're not liable to.
We shouldn't have to replace the concrete.
We did, and that's my second point. We did a similar agreement as to what you're describing here with the Catholic Church when they covered up the alleyway.
Exactly. Before they covered it,
Right.
we gave them permission to do so.
With all costs.
Stipulations.
Yes.
Yes. And that didn't happen here at Ampride. Okay?
Okay.
We don't have that agreement. If we have to dig that sewer up, we've got to hire somebody to cut the concrete, and serious job of hauling it away by the time you break it up and haul it away. And who should brunt that cost?
The business.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that should be completely understood before we ever give any kind of permission. But I don't agree with giving permission after we've done it. That's like, it's easier to ask for forgiveness than it is permission. And I don't think that should be the case with this. The people that bought the properties that are on that alley, one of them is complaining because, well, the traffic is so fast through that alley. We can't have that. That, before they bought that house, that alley was there. Traffic was there. before they found out that if they back out of their garage and somebody's coming up the alley, they can't see them. Okay? That should not be the city's problem, nor should it be for the city to close the alley because they made a bad buy.
That was due, I think with the, we're getting a little bit out of context here. The reason that we chose to block off the alleyway wasn't because it's been a historical thing or anything. It's just due to the construction project. I mean, it's just this short window in time that we have, right now we only have 2 through streets.
And I'm not disagreeing
all the way
with
down
that.
So,
Yep.
that's what we're talking about right now. That's the reason that it is closed.
That isn't the phone call I got from one of the landowners on that alley. Okay? And that's the only reason I'm bringing it up.
Yeah.
I don't think that the actions of any landowner should cause us to modify our city because they already modified it. Like my dump truck sitting in the alleyway right now. I really had, and shudder to think, try making me move it. Because we've already set that you can do anything you want to in a city alley, including cover it up with concrete. Because we've already let it happen.
Yeah, I'm totally in agreement with you that.
Yep.
If there was something there that, obviously, there was never an exchange of paperwork or, the city didn't do anything to cover themselves, the property owners weren't forthcoming with that information. So at this point in time, all we can do is pursue that paperwork and make sure that it's done and make sure that we protect ourselves.
Or if it hasn't been done, enforce the rights of the alley.
Or find the paperwork if it exists somewhere. I
Right.
had Chelsea look it up in her office. She doesn't have any record of it. Talked to Mike Brown because he's the one that was digging into this back in 2019. We found it on the meeting minutes from January of 2019 or something. We looked it up on the computer, but
Yep.
there was a discussion about it. But yeah, the alleyways, for public information right now, the alleyways is simply closed off because of the fact of the high volume of traffic that's using it to sneak through there, and not necessarily that so much. It was the people that were trying to get through there with larger vehicles pulling trailers and things like that. And then we also had a couple of close calls. I was getting calls from mothers that are dropping kids off at school, and their Third Street has a lot of traffic.
Third Street is absolutely,
Third Street is what's carrying the
Yep.
highway, is carrying, 25 to 30% of the highway traffic right now is on Third Street.
I agree.
So they're dropping their kids off at school, and they're zipping down Third Street, and people are coming out of that. And there's quite a few people that park on Third Street,
Because of the funeral home.
right?
Yep.
And so there was some vehicles parked there, so there was a couple instances where somebody was coming out of that alleyway, and there was a car coming down the street, and they had a close call.
Yep.
So it was a safety issue. So the combination of three different things, we just decided to close it down. Once we did, the conversation was brought up about,
Or are we closing it?
why
Yeah.
are we closing it? Has
Yep.
it ever been closed before?
Yep.
There's
Yep.
been a lot of stories circulating around about there used to be a cable across it, it used to be closed down. I don't know that. We've had a couple of conversations with management at the zip trip, and just making sure that it's, it didn't bother them or what their thoughts were on it. They were fine with the
Yep.
city,
Yeah. And they're right about there used to be a cable there, but that was illegally put, if you wanna say the word. The ownership of the Ampride, which was Country Pride Co-op, they decided to put a cable across, and that's what they did. Illegal as hell, okay? But, But just like the guy that built his fence on the city property, and instead of making him take his fence down, we moved 7th Street to go around it. And that's not right. That's just not right at all. You know, we're gonna end up with that issue somewhere else in town too. And how are we gonna handle that? The same way we handled 7th or the right way? You know, and that's the problem here.
Yep.
Yeah.
So anyways, for public information, you know, Kelly came to me and he asked me if it was okay if we closed it down, and we talked about it in the different scenarios, and I agreed with him. And the conversation has come up about permanently putting a permanent barrier in there so that it can't, so that traffic is not allowed to enter or exit,
Yep.
you know, their property through the city's alleyway, which is technically the city's alleyway all the way to the highway.
That's correct. But have you watched the traffic flow now that you've closed that off? Now they're coming in the alley, okay, because that's where the state has allowed people to come in, the alley, and they're going out on Taft Street, driving through the pumps to get to Taft.
Oh, we were picking up garbage in the alleyway yesterday, and we watched 2 vehicles come in off the highway and snuck around through the car wash back there.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah, because they took their overhead height thing down, so now you can drive a big vehicle through there. And that's what they're doing. And so we've actually, when they've got 3 cars lined up at the pumps, we've actually made it worse than if they drove up the alley. Because they wouldn't be driving through the traffic that's sitting at the pumps trying to get gas. Because that's what they're doing now. They're either going through the car wash or
well,
cutting right through
That
them.
is illegal to do that. That is illegal, that's a
Is it?
law.
Oh, in a gas station?
To use a parking lot to avoid a stop sign
Okay,
or that is illegal.
well,
So
that's what they're doing.
if they're scooting off the highway, scooting through the parking lot and then going up without stopping at the store, getting fuel, whatever.
Okay,
That is actually, you can be arrested for that.
very good,
Ticketed.
very good.
It's just like if you,
Right.
like up here at the stoplight, if you scoot through Bank West to avoid the stoplight, come back out on the highway, and keep going,
Yeah, okay,
that's not legal, that's against the law.
okay, I got you.
You're just using it, you're using.
Wild West, they used to do that. Go through the pumps and cut across and then just zip out.
And go
keep
down
going.
County Road.
Well, coming from South County, they'd cut through.
Sure.
And then hit the highway and go and miss the
Sure.
stop
You're
sign.
using private property to avoid a
Very good,
an
okay.
intersection or.
Yep, I can believe that, yep,
In this case, it's a construction zone.
yeah, yeah. Well, it won't, fortunately, it's not gonna be much longer on the construction
Yeah, the
zone.
good news is, talking to them yesterday, as soon as they get done, the saw and seal on this side of the project, they're gonna have those intersections open back up.
Are they?
Yeah.
Because I know they got all of my asphalt done now on Lamro Street, it's, both layers are in.
Yeah, they just have to seal up the concrete, they just have to cut it solid and seal it.
And then they're gonna work the sidewalks while traffic is there?
I don't think they're gonna open up, but they're gonna open up the intersections.
Okay, very good, okay. Because they got a lot of concrete to pour yet.
They said in the meeting yesterday, they're shooting for like November 15th to have
Everything,
to have it back.
All the concrete poured.
all of it.
Have it back to normal.
By this week, and I wanted to say they said today, but I think it's probably later this week as I think about it. All the light poles will go in and be functional all the way through.
Sure, well, that's a different outfit doing that,
That's smooth.
but the concrete stuff, I mean,
They're setting up for one long pour and they're just gonna come.
just, okay.
The main line is done.
Yeah, because they don't have the retaining walls done at AFCS office or at my place.
They're not done with all the radiuses yet either. They still have a couple radiuses to go over.
Oh, they do? Oh, I thought they had those, oh, they don't have the sidewalks poured at the
Still
radiuses.
the ADA, you know, the radius with the ADA, the ADA ramp and
Oh, that,
all that access.
because I thought the curb and all that was all done.
There's quite a bit of sidewalk left.
There's a lot of sidewalk, yeah.
So yeah, they're talking the middle of November, pulling all the cones and the barrels and everything on them.
Good.
They still have, if they have a little flat work to do on the sidewalks, they would still have the parking lane, and they could barricade out the parking lane. But
Sure, and then work the sidewalks, yep. Well, that's good. I think they're making good progress.
Okay, I got nothing else. Paul said he said he will have those documents to you guys by weekend with your packets.
Okay.
So you can review.
Okay,
He said not if, he said he will have them